In this melee, Pyrrhus was knocked off his horse and almost killed by an enemy, which prompted him to pull back.
Ooh.
His friend
continuing where we left off in this.
Meanwhile, on the
Pretty
Italian
damn
peninsula,
interesting series.
Southward expansion of a new power, Rome, was threatening the independent Greek colonies in Magna Graecia.
Okay, if there's one AI...
One of these cities, Tarentum, a colony built by the Spartans, was the most powerful, and had provoked the Romans by attacking their ships and humiliating their envoys. Now worried about Rome, the Tarentines, who governed democratically at this point, voted to send an embassy to Epirus asking for assistance in 281 BC. Pyrrhus agreed, but demanded that Tarentum must pay the costs of the war and give him supreme command of the allied forces. To further pressure his western rival into going to Italy so that he could concentrate on the east, Ptolemy the Thunderbolt of Macedon offered Pyrrhus 5,000 more phalangites for the campaign. In early 280 BC, Tarentum sent its fleet to transport Pyrrhus's army to Italy. The force which embarked in Epirus consisted of 20,000 men, mostly Macedonian and Epirot Sarissa pikemen and possibly some mercenaries, 3,000 cavalry, 2,000 archers, 500 slingers and 20 war elephants. After landing, the king began to militarize Tarentum and deal with any political enemies there, while the Romans did the same in the cities under their control. Preparing for the coming conflict, consul Publius Valerius Levinus was given command of 4 legions and was ordered to march directly against Tarentum. They wanted to force Pyrrhus into battle before his Greek allies arrived, and raided the countryside while pushing south. In mid-280 BC, their plan succeeded, and, learning that the Romans were bearing down on the Greek city of Heraclea, Pyrrhus marched to meet his new foe for the first time. The invading Roman army consisted of 4 Roman and 4 allied legions, and was drawn up in the traditional manipular fashion. Young Hastati manned the front ranks, more experienced Principes filled in behind them, and veteran Triarii stood in reserve. In total, the Romans had around 40,000 legionnaires. In addition, 2,400 Roman and allied cavalry were placed on the wings. They were commanded by Consul Levinus. Meanwhile, Pyrrhus's initial force of 25,500 infantry had been supplemented by thousands of Magna Graecian infantry, mercenaries, and a few thousand cavalry. In total, the Greek army may have numbered around 31,000 infantry, including his 20,000 heavy phalangites and a few thousand local allies. 5,500 missile troops, including 1,000 Rhodian slingers and javelinmen, formed Pyrrhus's skirmishing force, while his 4,000 cavalry were drawn from the expert horsemen of Thessaly in Greece, who were famous for their ability to move in a diamond-shaped formation, and were armed with the Xyston, a 12-foot-long two-handed spear, and some light javelins, being able to harass or charge with equal skill. In reserve were the Epirot king's 20 war elephants. In contrast to the typically aggressive Roman plan, Pyrrhus wished to delay any battle for as long as possible until his allies could rally their forces and join him. Shadowing the larger Roman force, he encamped on a plain outside the city near the left bank of the Siris River, hoping to protect the settlement on terrain suitable for his phalanx, while his enemy encamped on the other side of the river a little further upstream. When his army was resting, Pyrrhus and his friend Megacles went scouting to examine the enemy camp. Surprised at the organized nature of the supposedly barbarian camp, the Epirot king stated forebodingly, "These don't look like barbarians to me. We'll see what they can do soon." In order to guard the riverbank, a contingent of light infantry missile troops was sent towards it. This done, Pyrrhus turned to other concerns, thinking he had plenty of time in his strong defensive position.
Avengers level threat, nigga!
About to receive a nasty shock. After a few hours of preparation, Levinus unexpectedly ordered the entire Roman army of over 40,000 legionnaires to cross the river. The small force of light infantry skirmishers that Pyrrhus had placed on the riverbank pelted the Roman vanguard with missiles and slowed them down a little, but the noise of an entire army crossing the river deafened them, and they were unable to hear what was coming. To their left, the Roman equite cavalry.
An entire army crossing a river. Yo, I gotta stop saying the N-word, to be honest. But like, wow, I can only imagine, bruh.
Who had crossed the river further upstream, smashed into the flank of the defending missile units, who quickly retreated after suffering huge losses. The Roman velites were now coming across, and Pyrrhus, who could not afford to lose his river defense entirely before his infantry was ready, organized his phalanx before charging ahead of them with 3,000 of his best cavalry straight into the Roman light infantry vanguard.
Oh, okay.
This slowed them down and gave the phalangites a chance to catch up. As they approached the battle line, the Roman hastati crossed the river. They were better armed and armoured than the velites, who pulled back behind the line and instead engaged the cavalry on the wings. In this melee, Pyrrhus was knocked off his horse and almost killed by an enemy, which prompted him to pull back.
Ooh.
His friend Megacles now swapped armour with Pyrrhus and donned the king's unusually magnificent armour, riding back into the fray. The Romans were now in trouble. Despite Laevenius's bold crossing of the river, the wall of pikes was now fixed and began to slowly push the doggedly determined Romans with their backs to the river. They fought with tenacity, but had not found a way to hit the phalanx in its flank or rear. Gradually,
and that's the thing with the phalanx. If you can't do frontal attacks with the phalanx. You can't. It's either you gotta hit it from the rear or the flanks, or you're screwed.
An army began to melt away under the pressure.
Like, the phalanx is literally a walking glass cannon, right? That's basically the best way to describe the phalanx formation, to be honest. A walking glass cannon.
Of the phalanx. But then, everything turned.
What happened?
Megacles, armoured in the king's panoply, was slain by a legionary, and the helmet was paraded around the battle line, inspiring the Romans and demoralizing the Epirites,
who all
believed that their king was dead. At this point, the phalanx slowly began to waver, and the Romans pushed them back from the riverbank. The real Pyrrhus, understanding that this was a key moment in the battle, charged up and down his line in an attempt to inform his troops that he was not dead, shoring up their morale. At the same time, the PT2 elephants had until now been kept in reserve, were unleashed and hit both of the Roman flanks. While their infantry held firm, even against these monsters most of them had never seen before, the cavalry horses panicked and bolted, retreating through their own infantry and splitting the legion's formation.
Holy shit!
The legions lost their grit and began to run, while Pyrrhus commanded his Thessalian cavalry along the shore and into the shallows of the river. By the end of the battle, 7,000 Romans had been killed and 2,000 captured, while the Epirites had suffered 4,000 casualties, including many of their senior veteran officers. Though Pyrrhus had won his first major battle against Rome, it had been a difficult and grinding slogging match.
Yeah, and the elephant saved his ass too.
He would soon learn that despite his own martial prowess, he had truly met his match. Rome,
of course, this is the Romans,
dismissing Pyrrhus's offers of surrender terms, began recruiting a new army, and
if there's one thing about the Romans is that they do not give up.
The Epirite king began to patch up his own, ready for the next battle, which was soon to come.
Okay, that was short, but it was epic. I think that's good to leave off here. That was, such a short video, but yet the battle was so epic, Golly. Anyways, if you know any other videos like this that you would love to see a reaction to, make sure that you like and subscribe. Check out my other Greek history, Roman history reactions on this channel, man. I have plenty at this point. If you want to check out my channel membership for 99 cents a month, you could just click the the join, and it'll show you all the perks that you get when you become a channel member. Yes. But yeah, man. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.